anything and everything.
Do you ever wonder how to? Do you ever wonder why?
About anything and everything. Then Doris is your guy. Anything and everything will open your mind. Anything and everything with Doris. Anything and everything with Doris is online. Remember. Anything and everything with Doris.
You are listening to Anything and Everything with Doris podcast. This episode is brought to you by WYSK Spark Radio, the spark of the South. Listen to hits from the 70s till now. Find it on Live 365, Spark Radio. Hello everyone and welcome back, and I hope you've had a blessed week. This week I wanted to talk about BGA, or background acting, and what's the best way for you to get started. I'm old school and believe that if you start from the bottom and work your way up to the top in any business, you'll be a lot more successful. But in the acting world, it may not always work that way. You know, they like to work with who they know. You'll get a lot more opportunities out there by getting to know people in the business. And so I'm going to talk to you about that quite a bit as well. If you're interested in working in the industry, whether it's behind the scenes or in front of the camera, you're definitely going to need some training. But what you should also note is that in entertainment, there's no such thing as a 9 to 5. Even if you're scheduled for specific hours, you will most likely work past those hours. Once on set, you will not be permitted to leave even for lunch. That's why they have craft services. Now, craft services caters to snacks and meals throughout the working hours. You never know what is going to be served, but they usually have one meal with meat and one meal for vegetarians. The bigger the budget, the better the craft services, usually. On smaller budget sets, they'll be limited to snacks and drinks. And I've even been on sets where bottled water was all they had. But that's usually not the case. But I have been on sets that have done that. So always bring something with you just in case you wind up in such a situation. Now, as a BGA, or background actor, you'll have large and frequent gaps at times where you are just left sitting and holding, waiting to work. Use this time to either study for your acting classes or your auditions. Mingle with others to learn about other job opportunities or other training. Many BGAs have already taken acting classes and can tell you which classes and coaches they preferred. They can also tell you more about the agents if they have one. I have seen makeup artists and other behind-the-scenes professionals take these jobs just to get in the door. And once they're in there, they'll hand out their business cards and they mingle. And just like in any business, people prefer to hire who they know or who has been referred to them by someone they know. So the more people you meet, the more opportunities you will have to find work. Just be discreet when doing so. In the early days of the movie industry that was moving into Louisiana, which is now called Hollywood South, they were so short for particular professions that they would have free classes and later inexpensive classes to train people for those that they needed the most jobs of. Many of those people who took that opportunity are still working in the industry full-time today. Now Louisiana has many studios such as, right off the top of my head, I have Coyote Studios in St. Rose in New Orleans, G Street in Harahan, Ranch Studios in Chalmette, the Celtic Media Center in Baton Rouge. That's a really big one, and I was blessed to have worked with it before they opened up. And you even have John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard. He has a studio right there in Holden, Louisiana, and that's gorgeous as well. Those are just the ones off the top of my head, but Louisiana has so many more, and they're even up north in Shreveport. So if you're in Louisiana or nearby, there's a lot of great opportunities here. There are also several acting classes taught by professional actors such as Valika Gray, Jim Gleason, Even Lance Nichols has a few workshops here and there. There are many agents here that can get you opportunities in Louisiana as well as Los Angeles. Not to mention there are schools that train you for behind the scenes as well. You don't necessarily need to go to a big college. Now, I also know many people that started here and then they moved to LA thinking that, okay, I've worked, I know what I'm doing. I want to go to LA. They have more opportunities out there. They've been there longer, whatever. And you know what? They wound up moving back here because the competition in California is a lot larger than here in Hollywood South. We do have a lot of competition, but because people go to LA, you think of as Hollywood and LA the place to be. Well, actually, if you come to Hollywood South, you're more apt to get in the door. In fact, there was this actor who was born and raised here, and he's about 10, 15 years older than me. So back in that day when he was in his 20s, he had to go to LA to get started. Louisiana, it was unheard of. And he said for the past 20, 30 years, he's always wanted to audition before Quentin Tarantino. He's a great director. Everybody wants to perform in front of him. And I think he said he was in Hollywood about 20, 30 years, never got the opportunity. So he moves out here, right? Hollywood South has developed. He moves out here. And for the first time in his life, Quentin Tarantino was here auditioning. He was able to audition in front of this guy that he's been waiting to work in front of for 20, 30 years. And he moves to Hollywood South, and now he has this opportunity. A lot of people now, they'll go back and forth. They'll come here, they'll go to LA. Atlanta's got opportunities as well. So they'll bounce around. But I can tell you that in Hollywood South, there's a lot of opportunities every single month. There's websites that you can go to find out everything that they're seeking. So today, I just want to focus on how do you get started. First thing you need to do is register with casting companies. Most are free to sign up with, and they will call you when you fit what they are seeking. They'll also send out email notices of parts when they become available. So make sure that you fit the description of what they're seeking before you submit. Now, if you're very new and you haven't had time to worry about headshots, classes, background act is really good. When you submit to these casting companies, you could just take a selfie at the moment and put that on there. They're going to ask for a headshot as well as a full body shot. So do that, and that'll get you in the door. But if you have the money and the time, getting a professional headshot will definitely do much better. Now, when I say a headshot, don't go to Walmart or JCPenney and say I need a headshot, because they have no idea what you're talking about. They're just going to take a picture of your face. A headshot's very specific. They want to see who you are. They don't want a glamour shot. They want to see exactly who you are, what you look like. If you have any scarring or anything that you normally don't cover up, you might just put some makeup on or whatever. However you look, when you walk out the door every day, that's what they want to see. And don't worry if you have a scar or if you have a cleft palate, whatever it is, don't worry about it. You'd be amazed at sometimes it just doesn't even matter. Or they might even be looking for something specific like that. So don't try to hide what you think are your flaws, because those could also be your assets. So if you're looking for somebody to do a headshot, best thing to do is ask around. You're looking for a photographer that specializes in headshots. They work in the industry and they know exactly what you need. Don't worry if you haven't worked before. They will call you if you fit the look or the age bracket. And don't underestimate your skills. List things like roller skating, bike riding, horseback riding. These will be helpful in placing you for even better scenes where you can stand out. Be professional. Sounds easy enough, but you would be shocked to learn how many BGAs show up late or even a no-call, no-show. And that's the best way to have your file torn up and never called again. If you're going to be late, call ahead, keep them informed. If you're going to be late even 5-10 minutes, call. Most of the time, they'll probably tell you, come on. But if they're about to shoot, which they usually don't, if they tell you to be there for 3, they're not going to shoot at 3. But it's always good to call ahead of time because you don't want to get there and they say, sorry, don't need you now. Then you've wasted your time. If you get lost, call them. Say, look, I don't know, I had to take a detour and I'm not familiar. They'll help you out. Best thing for you to do is, if at all possible, go there the day before. So that way you know how to get there. You'll know ahead of time if there's a detour. You'll get to see exactly where it is and how to get there. And that way you'll be able to judge exactly how much time you need. Now, I'm one of these people. I don't want to be on time. I want to be early. And a lot of people don't want to be early because they know it's going to be long hours. But you never know what's going to happen on the way to work. I like to be there early. I'll usually leave an hour before I have to be on set if it's going to take me 20-30 minutes to get there. That way I have plenty of time. Most of the time, that would be plenty of time because you don't know. You don't know if you're going to run into any kind of traffic. Are you going to have a flat tire? You don't know. If you wake up with a fever and you know you cannot go to work, you need to call them. Don't assume, they're going to have a lot of people. They're not going to miss me. Don't do that because you're already marked down. They're ready to check you off. And even if they have enough people, they're going to know that you're supposed to be there and you didn't call, and they just might pull your file and not want to work with you again. So call them. They'll appreciate the fact that you called and that you didn't want to show up getting everybody else sick. Now, once you're on set, you need to be quiet and follow directions exactly as you're told. Now, if you're in holding, you can talk, you can mingle, you can do whatever you want to do. When I was studying for real estate, I loved working on set because I knew I was going to have a lot of time to study. So I'd bring my book and I would study the whole time I was in holding. And then I would go to work when they called me to work and then back to holding. So if you're a student that's just looking, you need a job, but you need to be able to study, this is easy money. But you're going to have to be able to be professional, be quiet when necessary, and be able to follow instructions exactly as you're told. I saw once on set, I was working as a teacher. That was my role. I was going to be the teacher. So we had a lot of teenagers on set. Now, a lot of times you're going to work on a scene 2 or 3 days in a row, the same scene. So you're going to have to wear the exact same clothes. Your hair's going to have to be the same. Your makeup, everything's going to have to be exactly the same because for the next 3 days, you're going to be doing the same scene. I saw this young girl. She was only 15 years old, and she was working on the set. And of course, everybody was told, okay, come back tomorrow looking exactly like you do today. Now, what they'll do is they have continuity people. And before you leave, they'll have a camera and they'll come start taking pictures of people. They'll put you in, groups of maybe 4 or 5, maybe by yourself, depending on whatever. But they're doing this to make sure that tomorrow when you show up, you look exactly like you did at that moment they took that picture. Problem is, when you're dealing with 100, 200 people in a group, they may not catch something right away. So this young girl who was about 15 years old, never worked on set before, this was her second day. She was specifically told, like everyone else, come back exactly as you are at this moment. We were going to do the same scene. She came back the next day, same clothes, same makeup, but the day before her hair was down and today she wore her hair up. I don't know why. I don't know what she was thinking. Maybe she forgot. I don't know. But it was about 3 or 4 hours in, we were working, when one of the continuity people realized her hair was totally different. And I guess the way where she was in the scene, she was going to be noticeable. Well, let me tell you, the PA had a fit. Oh my goodness. He went off on her in front of everybody. I felt so bad for this young girl. Even though she brought it on herself, she didn't follow the instruction. But this PA was so horrifically loud and yelling at her that you couldn't help but feel bad for her, right? She not only created a mess for herself, she created a mess for everybody working. All of the other BGAs were now going to have to stay over longer, including your crew, right? Your lighting people, your sound, your director. Oh my goodness, he didn't want to have to go tell the director, look, we messed up. We didn't catch this one little detail. And now you have to shoot movies. I don't care how big a budget. If you got a $10 million budget, something like that can throw you off. You know what I mean? Nothing ever goes as planned on a movie set, ever. I don't think I've ever been on a movie set where they've said, oh wow, everything worked perfect, we're on budget. I've never seen it. So they do plan, when they make a budget of $10 million, they've already planned mess ups, but not something like that where you're going to have to pay 200 BGAs overtime, as well as your crew. Your director is, oh my gosh, that poor PA. I know what he was so upset because he was going to have to run and tell the director, guess what, we screwed up. And so, of course, he took out all this frustration on this young girl. And I felt so bad for her. But all she had to do was come back the same day. I mean, the next day, the same way she was the day before. That's all she had to do. And I realized it could have just been something simple as maybe she didn't remember what she looked like. Maybe she didn't know how important it was. Maybe she thought with all these people, they're not going to notice my hair up. Maybe the day before was hot and she wanted to be cool. I don't know what was in her head, but I can tell you this. They're going to take a picture, so they're going to know if you're the same or not. And if you think you might not remember either, when I say exactly the same, I'm talking about if you're wearing a purse, if you're in a scene and you're wearing a purse and you're wearing it on your left shoulder, don't switch it the next day. Don't wear it on your right shoulder. Something that simple can throw off the entire scene. A lot of times what BGAs will also do is they'll have somebody that they've been working with. They'll say, here's my phone. Please take a picture of me right now so that tomorrow morning when I'm getting ready, I can see exactly how I look today. I'll know if my purse was on my right shoulder or my left shoulder. I'll know the color eyeshadow. I'll know exactly how my hair looks. I'll know if I had gloss or what shade of lipstick or whatever, I'll know how they tied my scarf. Whatever it is. Earrings. What earrings did I have on? Was I wearing earrings at all? If you think you're not going to remember every detail, and you probably won't, then have somebody take a picture with your phone, and then the next day when you're preparing to get ready to come to work, you already know what you look like. You already know what you have to do. Granted, she probably knew. I just don't think she knew how insanely the reaction was going to be. Maybe she thought, oh, I'm not even going to be seen, so it's not going to be a big deal. But you would be amazed that even in a crowd, you very well be seen. You never know how it's going to come out. You never know which angle or which camera they're going to pick when they're choosing the scene. So when I tell you do exactly as you're told, you have to do it to detail. And if you're not good with that, then this job is not for you. If you're not willing to sit there and wait and wait and wait and do more waiting just to work for maybe a few minutes and then go back to holding and wait again, if you're not good with that, then this job is not for you. But maybe something else on set will be for you. Maybe you'll want to be one of those PAs. Maybe you'll want to do makeup or hair. You could talk to somebody that's into that could tell you, well, I went to this, or whatever they had to do. So being a BGA isn't always about the next acting gig. A lot of actors will start out that way, but so do makeup artists, PAs, lighting. So many people, when I started out as a BGA, so many people moved around. They started out as, I want to be an actor. And then they saw something else that caught their eye. And a couple of them now, they write or they direct. They start out as a PA. They might be a first assistant to a certain actor now. I can't tell you. Some of them moved on to photography. Some went into the electrical department. Some do sound, some do lighting. You just wouldn't believe. They started out thinking they were going to do this and found out they like this instead, And if you like being on different sets, never knowing how your day's going to go, then great. But if you're the type of person, you want something consistent, you know what hours you're going to work, you know what you're going to do every day, then the set life is not going to be for you. Also, be careful what you talk about on set and never gossip about cast, crew, director, actors, nothing, none of that. And I'll tell you why. You never know who you're going to be working with as a BGA. I was working on set one time. The director's niece wanted to be in the movie. And so he was like, okay. So he put her in as a background actor. So here she is. She's on set with everybody. And nobody knows who she is. She's not saying, I'm the director's niece. No, she's not doing that. She's sitting there like the rest of us. So could you imagine if you were sitting there talking about her uncle? Like, I wish this director would hurry up. Or talking about one of the actresses, big actresses or actors that the director's working with. You think that niece isn't going to go back and tell her uncle? So you have no idea who you're working with. You just don't know. So when it comes to gossip or talking negative about anything, just don't do it. While being a BGA, you'll learn the lingo. You'll learn when they say places everyone or back to one or reset. You'll know what that means. And you'll also know to move quickly. Once the scene is done, they'll rush you off, back to holding, wait some more. And like I said, use that time wisely, mingle, take notes, build relationships, pass out business cards, and rest or eat. If you're thirsty, grab a drink. Usually they'll have water, juice, coffee, tea. That's usually the main four you'll see. And lots of water. It'll either be in a cooler with a spigot or bottled, but they'll have it. And snacks. They'll have chips, cookies, candy, but they'll also have healthy stuff like nuts, health food bars. They try to cater to everybody. If you need to go to the bathroom, you need to grab something to eat or drink, do that while you're in holding, because when you're on set, you have no idea how long you're going to be there. It could be quickly, it could be a matter of minutes, or you could be on set standing or sitting or walking. You never know. Now, usually when you're being called in to work on a set, here's what they'll do. They'll send you an email. They'll tell you where to be at what time. Like they might say, be at this address for 4 a.m. Oh, yeah, 4 a.m. Sometimes it might be 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. But I've gotten calls where I had to be on set for 4 a.m. and they'll tell you what to bring. They'll tell you bring evening attire, picnic attire. They might tell you that it's going to be an airport scene, so bring luggage, whatever. They'll tell you what to wear, usually. And it might be vague. It might be it's a wedding scene, so you're a guest at a wedding. Wear something like you're going to a wedding. Or wear something like you're going to a party. Or wear something like you're traveling at the airport. They might not tell you specifics other than color. They might say, don't wear red, don't wear black, don't wear whatever. So you make sure you don't have any of those selections. And you bring more than one choice. Wear something that you think is what you want to wear, but then bring about 4 or 5 other options because they're going to check you. They might say, oh, that's perfect, wear that. Or they might say, I actually like this one better. So always have options. Don't go in there with just what you have on and say, well, if they don't like it, they'll put me in something. They don't always have wardrobe for that. Or they might not have your size. Plus, I prefer wearing my own stuff simply because after I've worked 12, 14, 16 hours, I want to go home. I want to go home quickly. And before you leave, guess what you have to do? You're going to have to stand in line because they're going to give you a slip when you get there. And that slip is going to have to be signed before you leave, which means you're going to have to stand in this long line if there's a lot of people and wait for your slip to be signed. Well, they're not going to sign that slip unless you return whatever you borrowed for the day. And they're going to know because whenever you go to wardrobe and you borrow something, wardrobe is going to take your slip and they're going to mark it. And then when you take it back to them, they'll check that they got it back. And then you're going to stand in that line. I prefer actually not to have to borrow anything from wardrobe because then after my long hours, I get to hurry up and stand in line and be gone. Instead of having to stand in line with wardrobe, turning in their stuff, having them check it, blah, blah, blah. Then I got to go stand in another line. When you work long hours, you're ready to go. That's just another tip. Try to bring your own stuff so you won't have to stand in a line for wardrobe and then a line to sign out after you've worked all those long hours. You know what I mean? And when I tell you long hours, the first time my daughter worked on set, I'm really glad that her and my son got this experience for the first time they ever worked on a set. It was supposed to be from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. I think it was 9. It was going to be 9 or 10 p.m. That's what they were prepared to do. Well, of course, nothing went as scheduled. They didn't even start till probably 5 or 6. Like, usually you start maybe within an hour of getting there. It took them about 3 hours after we got there to start shooting the scene. So, of course, now you're not going to be leaving at 9 or 10 probably. So what happened was 9 or 10 o'clock rolled around and they had options. They said, well, guys, we didn't finish the scene, but we can let some of you go. So anybody that doesn't want to stay past 9 or 10, whatever, you can leave. Now, they don't always do that, but this particular day, they did. It was a Friday night. They knew people were coming from work. The kids were coming from school. They knew this. And it was a really big budget film, and they did have a lot of people. The first thing they did is they said whoever wants to leave can leave. And so that narrowed it down. But they gave a time frame. They said, well, it'll probably be, till midnight. Well, guess what? Midnight rolled around and they weren't done. So they said, guys, we're sorry. We're going to need you to stay another couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours. And they could let some people go. So what they did was they went around and started looking at people saying, okay, guess they could make the crowd less. And so that means you're going to be seen more. So certain people, they weren't going to need in that scene anymore or whatever. So they would start letting people go. And they got to my son and my daughter and they asked, would y'all mind staying a little longer? And they asked me, is it okay if they stay longer? And I said, sure. If they want to stay longer, they can stay. Well, my children got there at 3 and we weren't done until after 3. We were signing, they were actually signing us out at 4 a.m. And I'm so glad that when my children worked for the first time on set, I'm so glad they saw that. Because if everything would have went fine and they would have left on time, they would have thought, oh, this is great. So, and my daughter, she was so excited. She was like, when we left, I was dragging. I'm not going to lie. I was tired. And I could see my son, who was in high school, he was exhausted himself. And so when we got in the car, I said, well, guys, so what do you think? Or, you still want to do this kind of business? And my son, so tired, was like, I don't know. But my daughter was all high energy. Yeah, I want to do it again. So, it's great. It was a great experience for them. And they did do a few more movies. But right off the bat, they learned what it was like. They learned that if it says you're going to be there till 9 or 10, that it might not be accurate. And now when they call you and you get the job, they'll usually tell you it's a 12-hour job. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be, because I have been on set where we actually wrapped up in 4 hours and things weren't perfect. Not everything worked out as planned, but it was a pretty doggone good day. It was really close to being perfect. And so they were able to wrap up in 4 hours. That's the way the business is. And it's really easy to start. Get in there with the casting companies. You can find them online. Look online in your area. Louisiana, Atlanta, LA, probably New York, New Jersey does a lot of movies. If you're in Louisiana, you can go to the Louisiana Film Entertainment website and they'll tell you every month what's filming. Google casting companies near you and put in your picture and all your information. And I'm going to tell you, don't lie. Don't lie about your weight. Don't lie about your height. Women always want to be 10, 20 pounds lighter, but you can't lie about that because when you walk in, they're going to see that. So fill out everything, be honest, and don't apply just to one casting company. Apply to every single one of them. Apply to every single casting company and have a specific email. If you have one email for everything, it wouldn't hurt to have an email just for this. If you're serious about this, do that. Also, and I know this is hard for a lot of people, especially today, because everybody has an email and a lot of people have similar names. Don't have an email that's kind of wacky, like Peacock 3 or something like that. Try to keep it as close to your name as you can. And I'll tell you why. I was working in casting and we had a day. We must have went through 100 people. And of course, when people come in, they give you the resume. Before the audition, they'll slate. Now, I'm going to tell you, on your resume, always have a picture of yourself. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll take their headshot and then they'll have a company print their resume because your resume needs to be short. We don't need 10 pages. They really prefer a resume of 1 page. That's it. And you're going to put your most recent work or your biggest roles. If you had a lot of speaking parts, then put those. So they'll take their 8x10 headshot and on the back of it, they'll have their resume printed. That's pretty cool. That way, we're not going to lose your headshot in your resume. It's going to be all together. And then sometimes they like to give business cards, right? Well, this one person was really, really new. So they didn't have a headshot. They didn't have a resume because they hadn't worked before, but they had a business card. And they were smart enough to put their picture on the business card. Well, along with all those resumes and headshots, we lost the business card temporarily. We found it the next day. This person is someone we were interested in. And we couldn't remember the email. We knew the name, but we couldn't remember the email. And that was the only way to contact them. Because we lost the business card, we couldn't just call them, right? And I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to get a hold of this person? And so I said, well, let me just take a chance. And so I put their name in, like blah, blah, dot Yahoo, and then dot whatever, AOL, whatever, just various ones. And I found them. I actually found who I was looking for. It took a little bit of work, but I found who I was looking for. If they would have had something crazy like Peacock 10, Rainbow 5, I'd have never been able to guess that. So if you can have an email with your name, like mine is Doris Cummings at Yahoo. That's the one I used in the movies. But then my personal one, because I've been married since then, is Doris Beeler at Yahoo. You know, it's always going to be my name. But of course, I have an odd name as well. And I do the same thing when I had an acting website. Guess what it was? DorisCummings.com. All they had to do was look up DorisCummings.com. There was my picture. There was my resume. There was me slating and doing an audition. Everything you wanted to know was on my website. And these days, you can even do auditions. Have someone film your audition and then send it to whoever is asking for it. And then if they like it, then they'll ask you to come in personally. A lot of times that's how they're doing it now. Agents. Another thing to ask about on set is an agent. Now, if you're very new, you might want to do your homework and listen to the information about the agents, but you're not ready for an agent yet. An agent's going to want someone that's worked on set, and they're preferably going to want someone that's taken classes. Because if you've taken classes, number one, they realize, oh, this girl is serious. You know, she's working towards something. Not to mention, classes help you hone your skills. And it's also not just classes for your skills, but they have on-camera classes as well. Because there's a certain presence you have to present on film that's very different compared to on stage as to what you're going to do in front of a camera. So if you worked on stage and you're like, oh, I'm ready, I've worked on stage, I'd suggest you take some on-camera classes first, because you will be taught how to work in front of the camera. And one of the things you don't want to do is look into the camera, but they'll teach you all those tricks. Even if you've been acting on stage for years, that's great. That's awesome. But get some on-camera skills as well. Learn from others things about the agents. Some agents only do commercial shoot. They're looking for people to work in commercials. And then there's other agents, they don't do commercials at all. They only do TV or film, or TV and film, but they don't do commercials. And they might have some agents, they do it all. And a lot of times agents want you to be exclusive to them. So that's something to think about. Do you want to be exclusive? Now, if you have an agent that does just commercials, they're not going to say you can't have an agent for TV and film, but they will tell you, I want you to be exclusive to me for commercials. So that's something to discuss while you're in holding. The pluses of being exclusive. Some actors will tell you, if I have to be exclusive, I won't use that agent. And some they want to be exclusive. But you can find out all this information while you're in holding. There's so much to learn. And everybody's so kind and so willing to share their experiences. The first time I was on set, you know what I did? I didn't say a word. I didn't. I sat there in holding and I just listened. I listened to all the stories because everybody else is asking questions or they're talking about their experiences. And so that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to take it all in and learn. And the best way to learn sometimes is just to shut up and listen. And that's what I did. And then as I gained my own experiences, of course, I learned from that as well. And then as I got to know people, because a lot of times you're going to work with the same BGAs on different sets. And you know why that is? Because once you've worked with someone, once a casting company has hired you out, and you did well for them, they'll keep hiring you out. Now, if you caused a ruckus, they're probably just going to throw out your paper and never call you. And they're not going to tell you. They're not going to call you and say, Doris, go make sure you're on some other casting company because we're not going to hire you. They're not going to do that. They're just never going to call you again. So it's best to behave. Follow instruction. Don't gossip. Don't talk bad about anybody. You don't know the situation. Don't be judgmental, which that's the best thing to do in every part of your life anyway, but especially on set. Basically, all I can tell you is learn, ask questions, follow instructions, be on time as soon as you can. Once you've worked and you like that and you want to do it again, get a headshot. Some people, they just want to be BGAs. They don't want to do anything else. They don't want larger parts. They don't want to do anything behind the scene. They just like being a BGA. It's easy work. It's long hours. It's tedious, but it's pretty much easy work most of the time. Now, if you're working outside in the heat, yeah. If you're not used to Louisiana heat, yeah, that could be tough, but be prepared for that. Bring you a little fan, whatever, bring you some sunscreen for sure. And a lot of times they'll pass around the sunscreen on the set, but bring your own. If you can, bring your own. And try not to bring too much stuff though. Like make sure you always have a snack. If you're one of these people that has to have something to eat every couple of hours, maybe you're diabetic or whatever, bring something, but bring something small. Don't bring a big giant bag of potato chips. Bring some candy bars or snack bars or whatever. If you know you're working outside, bring sunscreen or bring repellent or whatever you need. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've had mostly great experiences, but I've had some nightmarish experiences as well. You'll get companies in here that are on a low budget and they'll treat you that way. You might not have food on set. You might only have water. And I'll tell you this, one of the reasons that I started the Louisiana Entertainment Association was because when people got on set, they were being mistreated in the beginning. In the beginning of Hollywood South being formed, a lot of people were taken advantage of. And they'd get on set and they weren't being fed or they didn't have proper water. I mean, they were treated worse than dogs. At least when a dog is working on set, you have the SPCA there making sure that dog is treated well. We don't have that for ourselves. And so people were being mistreated. And then they would come to these meetings that we would hold, these meetups, and they would complain. And all I could say is, there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing anyone can do about it after the fact. Because it's done, right? So if it's something serious, like you're working out in the heat and they're not providing you bottled water, walk out. I worked on a set one time. It was an outdoor scene and it was in the middle of the day. We started in the morning. I think we started at 6 a.m. and we were signing out at 8 p.m. But by noon, between noon and 1, 4 people had passed out and had to be rushed to the hospital. They were dehydrated because they weren't handing out the water. They said they ran out of water. What should have happened was everybody working as a BGA should have said, we're leaving. We're walking. If you don't get us water, we're out of here, because your health is more important than whatever they're paying you. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that ride in that ambulance to that hospital and that emergency bill was going to be 10 times more whatever she was getting paid that day. And about 4 people went to the hospital. That should have never happened. Ever. And that upset me so badly that not only did I not go back to work over there the next day, but I started the Louisiana Entertainment Association. I'm like, we've got to have somebody that's got our backs. And now people know what they can do. And nobody wants to walk. Everybody's afraid if they walk, they're not going to be used again. But I guarantee you, if it's 100 people and they're about to walk, they're going to find water. They'll send a PA out to get water. That is so essential. If you're outside working in the heat, you have to have water. And yeah, we did know that we were going to be working out in the heat, and we did bring umbrellas and sunscreen and stuff like that. But you can't, as a BGA, bring 12 packs of water. That's their responsibility. So, of course, now Hollywood South has grown, and they have agencies that don't allow that nonsense. You have to speak. You have to let them know. And it's okay if you want to work for free. Just don't do every job for free, because they'll take advantage of that too. Sometimes people will go work on something for free for the weekend just so it's something they can add to their resume. But if you don't really need to add something to your resume, don't work for free. Don't do that, because it kind of hurts those that are getting paid. The free stuff, just do that if it's your first time or you just want to get something else on your resume. But don't do it all the time. So now you know all about being a BGA, how to get started. I gave you a little few tips if you want to stay in it, what to do. Some people do it just to supplement their income. They don't want to go any further. Some people use it as a stepping stone. Some people do it just so that they could say they've worked on set. And some people go in and say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. So whatever you decide is best for you, just remember to be professional, courteous, willing to learn, and work tedious long hours. And that's our show. Thanks for listening. And until we meet again, enjoy every day to its fullest. God bless. This episode is brought to you by the Louisiana Entertainment Association, and you can check them out on their Facebook page as the Louisiana Entertainment Association. For comments or questions, you can reach us by email at yopi@post.com. Also, check us out on Twitter at Dorisi and our Facebook pages at YOPI Studio or Louisiana Entertainment Association. Anything and Everything with Doris is produced by Your Own Production Incorporated and comes out every week. So come on back and feel free to add us to your favorite RSS feed, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Pod, and our favorite, Podbean. All links are found in our show notes below.